helping a user with what is actually a relatively common request, remove chosen dropdown options from future dropdowns. So what they said is they need help formatting a Google Sheet, they want to have players and positions listed for baseball, and have one of the columns be a dropdown that gets rid of options as selected so that there aren't any duplicate positions. I have it as players in column A, position in column B. Wondering if anybody out there has tips or formulas for getting rid of options available in the dropdown once a position has already been selected. Let's take a look at the spreadsheet I made to help get this done. So here's the example spreadsheet that I made. I have player names in column A, I have position in column B. I'm not worried about innings because the same idea here will translate to however many else they want to do. Over here in column E, I have all 20 available positions. Now what I want to do is create a drop down here in column B, well, a drop down in each cell of column B. And then as we select options, I don't want those selectable for any future drop down. Okay? So if I just do insert drop down, and let's do drop down from a range being E2 through E21. That works, but if I put Timmy as pitcher, then pitcher is obviously still available. I can set multiple people to pitcher. That's exactly what they're trying to avoid. So instead, I'm going to put a formula here in column F. That's going to be a filter function, and I'm going to filter all of the positions using a count if function. I want to count if any of these positions appear in column B. So that's going to be count if B2 through B21, E2 through E21 equals 0. So this gives me everything from column E that does not appear in column B. Let's go test this without the dropdown. I'm just going to put catcher here, and we can see that catcher is removed from the remaining. Same thing if I take setup pitcher, that's removed. Great. So the formula, the filter formula here is working. Let's clear these out. Now I want to put a dropdown in again. I'm going to put it again in B2 through B21. Drop down from range, but this time my range is going to be F2 through F21. There's all of them. Excellent. Now, if I select Timmy as pitcher, then pitcher is no longer available to choose. Ashley is shortstop. Ethan is going to be left fielder, and those continue to be removed from the available options. Now, the only shortcoming of this method is that every single dropdown is pointing at the same range, which means that pitcher is no longer in the range that this dropdown is looking at. So this method does always come up with an invalid flag because whatever you select is no longer available to select. I hope that makes sense. If I look in here, pitcher does not appear in the value selectable because it's not in this range anymore, right? It's gone, and this is pointing to this just as much as any other dropdown is. The only ways I know around that is to either create a range for every single cell, which gets extremely long and drawn out, or to use a script. So if you're willing to live with the little invalid flag, this is a great way to do it. So it's not the best if you have to share this sheet to a bunch of people who might get confused about that, but as long as it's for you or a small team, or you can just explain that that's what's happening, this works great. It's also the case that if I remove pitcher, it's back into the list and I can select it again. But once I select all of these, they're all going to have an error, but they still continue to work. You can reference them, you can see them. It works as long as you're okay with that little flag. Otherwise, you do need a separate range, or a separate range for each cell, or a script. So this is the most efficient way to do it, as long as you're willing to live with that little flag.